When I first lived in Papua New Guinea, there was only one internet cable servicing the whole country, and I experienced what that was like from the internet user perspective. Then in 2009, a second cable came to Papua New Guinea, and more recently, Australia funded a new cable for Papua New Guinea, which also goes to Solomon Islands, and I started to learn about the Manatua cable, which is being partly funded by New Zealand, and fortunately I have this role here at the Department of Pacific Affairs at Australian National University, and that's allowed me to take time this year to explore in more detail the undersea internet cables in the Pacific. Well, in fact, as I investigated it, I realised that there's many cables running across the Pacific, for instance, cables from Sydney to California and so on. But I decided to create a map that just focuses on the cables for Pacific Island countries, territories and collectivities. And so that's now available in part one of my 2 interlinked in-briefs. And I hope that it's a useful resource for people trying to understand what the services are for the countries and islands across the Pacific. I discuss cybersecurity and then geopolitics under 2 separate headings, but of course they're interlinked because cybersecurity has been cited or at least implicated in decisions that have been made about geopolitical decisions and in particular aid funding allocations for undersea cables. This is a complex and tricky, somewhat sensitive area, I guess. So I'm very happy for people to contact me with feedback and ideas and questions once they've had a chance to read the in-brief. I think anyone with an interest in the Pacific might be fascinated to know that there's so many more cables around the Pacific Ocean than perhaps people realised. I've certainly found it really interesting to explore. I also hope that it might be useful for ICT companies, policymakers and communication researchers. I guess there's a few different groups that might find it useful. I hope so anyway.